Before I turn it over to Zsorey, who will be doing the presentation, I just wanted to take this opportunity to let the board members know that this was a very good experience for us. The county was very cooperative in helping us with the records. It was a long process. I've heard some people tell me a little bit too long. The statute required that the report be out by February 1, which it made that deadline. But now with the report being issued, you all can move forward and make the decisions that you need to make. But I did want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the county and the staff that helped us prepare this report and get through the records. They were very cooperative, and we appreciate that. Zsorey and his team, Keith Domer, they worked on this report for the last 6 months, trying to hit all of the areas that the statute required us to look at, and he's ready today to give you a presentation on the results of that work. Thank you.
Okay, what we found is the county administers a unique general obligation bond program. And when I say unique, we compared the program to other counties in Arizona and didn't find a similar program. And we also looked nationwide at other counties within the country to see if we could find a similar program, and we did not. Most jurisdictions, what they do is when they issue general obligation bonds, they're issuing bonds just for the purposes of that jurisdiction. In other words, if they want to build a county jail or some other county building or for a county regional park, you know, they're issuing bonds for that, just that jurisdiction. In Arizona, there's very few counties that actually issue general obligation bonds. Right now, only Apache and Yuma County issue general obligation bonds, and they've done it for their county library districts to provide funding for those districts. So it is unique in Pima County that when general obligation bonds are issued, it also is coordinated with the local governments, with the cities and towns within the county and tribes within the county too, to fund projects that not only are for county purposes, but for purposes of those local jurisdictions. You know, recreational centers and parks in, you know, the town of Marana or a city of Tucson, and generally we don't see that, so that does make it unique. The other thing that makes it unique too is just the amount of coordination that requires, because the county is issuing debt that's funding projects throughout the county for local jurisdictions in the county itself, so there's a lot of coordination that occurs between the county, the local jurisdictions, and the Bond Advisory Committee. I'm going to talk about the Bond Advisory Committee here in a couple minutes. It's comprised of 25 members. 15 of those members are appointed by the Board of Supervisors. Each board member appoints 3 members to the committee. Some of the members are from the local jurisdictions, and 3 of the members are appointed by the county administrator. And as it says, you know, the committee is responsible for reviewing projects, making project funding determinations, and funding recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, and those are ultimately approved by the Board of Supervisors. And again, that is unique to have that committee there. Most of the jurisdictions we see, that's all just happening at the Board of Supervisors level because they're administering these projects on their own. What we found was the bond proceeds were spent for purposes authorized by the county voters. And so in the last slide, it showed you what the purposes were that the county voters had approved. We found that the proceeds were in fact being spent for those purposes. In every instance, we found no exceptions to that. That the bond proceeds are also spent on projects that were approved by the Bond Advisory Committee and the County Board of Supervisors. So we didn't find any problem with that either. We also found that the county completed most of the projects on time. 93% of the projects were completed on time. And as I mentioned, that timing is determined by the county and the Bond Advisory Committee. So we didn't find any issues there. And if the changes in the project cost or timing were properly approved by the Bond Advisory Committee, approved by the County Board of Supervisors, and were made without bias. And I have some slides, I'll talk about each one of these points. And what we're showing you here is the number of completed projects through November of 2012, or through May of 2012, excuse me. There was 513 completed projects, 477 of them were completed on time, and 36 were completed late. So that's where we came up with the 93% of projects being completed on time. And it also shows you dollars in there too, the dollar value of the projects being completed on time. $616 million were completed on time in terms of dollar value of projects. And what we were looking for there was, again, to make sure the county was using the monies as the voters intended. If there was intended to build parks, that they were in fact building parks with those monies. And that is what we found. That the county did, you know, have complete projects that had a county-wide and local benefit. And generally, the projects approximated the taxes paid by each jurisdiction. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be a perfect match. The unincorporated areas paid more in taxes than they got in projects. The city of Tucson got more in projects than paid in taxes. The smaller governments, Oro Valley, Marana, Sahuarita, generally paid approximately the same amount in taxes as they got in projects. Just a real brief presentation. I walked you through a lot of information in 5 or 10 minutes here. Do you have any questions?
I think what I'm kind of appreciative of is that, as the committee said, way back when this legislation was first passed, we cannot move forward with considering a new bond issue until these questions that have been raised have been answered. And they've been answered. And so I think that's good. And it's an independent validation. It's not as if we're basically telling everybody how good we are. We're actually having an independent third party, the state, come in and do what they do, and that's audit. The whole purpose is to try and improve what you do the next time. And this is kind of also a lesson for us, because it helps us know what's important and what's important to the community at large when we're doing bonds and incurring the debt and repaying the debt, and what good does it do. And so what the Auditor General has formed for us is a very solid basis of a financial review audit of what's happened in the bond programs of 4, 6, and 1997. And what we're going to talk about just in a minute is how to follow up on that in what we call kind of a performance audit. One of the members, Terry, asked at the last meeting about, can we have an idea how well these projects are doing? Are they meeting the need? Are they being maintained? Who's doing what? And so we're now in the middle of a performance audit discussion that I'll give you a few sheets that we've done as examples to talk about. Do you want to see anything else? So that's, I think this whole exercise has been very worthwhile.